of glutamate on the shift-based carbon, which is activated between the lysine and the pyridoxal phosphate. That's going to force a proton transfer from the alpha amine, and you end up generating another lone pair on the nitrogen. And this bond right here between the hydrogen and the nitrogen right there, that's this lone pair right here. Okay? And because we're going to eliminate the lysine in 2 steps, because it's a 2-step mechanism, it's not bimolecular. Okay? It's actually a unimolecular elimination. Okay? So what's going to happen now is this lone pair is going to kick back in here and perform the elimination, okay? And that's going to kick off the lysine residue in the deprotonated form. So what we have to understand right now is the lysine is in the deprotonated form, and that's what's going to initiate the catalysis, okay? And also keep in mind now that what was the glutamate is now in a shift-based linkage to the pyridoxal phosphate, okay? Now, in this step of the mechanism, what's going to happen is we're going to deprotonate the alpha carbon of glutamate. So this lone pair is going to come here and attack this proton, and what that's going to do is force the formation of something called a quinonoid intermediate. So let's actually look at the electron pushing right now. So you form a double bond there. This bond comes in here to form the double bond, and you get another rearrangement here of the pyridoxal phosphate ring, okay? And this structure right here, okay? Let me do it like this. This structure right here, okay? This is called the quinonoid intermediate, okay? It's called quinonoid because it's similar to that of a quinone. If you were to look at a quinone, it looks like this, okay? This is a quinone. Notice how in a quinone, you have a double bond right here, which is a carbonyl. You would normally have another carbonyl there, and 2 double bonds right here. Okay? So you can, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar enough to what they call quinonoid. And when you hear oid as the suffix on a word, oftentimes what that means is that it's similar to, but not the same thing as. Okay, so it's not a quinone, certainly, but it's similar to it. But it's essentially what it is. It's a quinone version of a pyridine ring, okay, where you have a double bond on the top. Okay? So now what's going to happen is this quinone intermediate is going to collapse, and it's going to funnel these electrons back out, and it's going to cause the deprotonation of lysine. So these electrons will come over here and extract the proton from lysine. Now, why is pyridoxal phosphate used here? Well, the nitrogen of the pyridoxal phosphate is what's referred to as an electron sink. Let me write that down because that's really important. This nitrogen is called an electron sink. If you think about what a sink does, it has a drain that just accepts all the water, right? You turn on the sink, you turn on the faucet, and the water comes out, but the water just gets extracted by the drain, right? The hole in the sink, right? That's why the pyridoxal phosphate is called an electron sink. Whenever you have the quinonoid intermediate form, these electrons, let me show you which electrons I'm talking about. These ones right here, one that's circled in orange, those pi electrons can be accepted by that nitrogen of the pyridine ring. Okay? It's sort of like the analog of the sink. The sink drain is accepting the water, just like that nitrogen of the pyridine ring is accepting those pi electrons. So because the nitrogen is an excellent electron acceptor, especially when you have conjugation involved, it's called an electron sink. Okay, that's very important. We'll see that in other areas of metabolism as well. Okay, now the electron sink is going to donate these electrons back to reform aromaticity. And like I said, what's going to happen is these pi electrons right here are going to deprotonate lysine, regenerating deprotonated lysine. And now what you have is pyridoxal phosphate regenerated, but it's no longer in a shift-based linkage. So notice what's happening. We regenerate aromaticity in the pyridine ring. Okay, but the shift base is now between the alpha carbon right here. It's between this alpha carbon and the nitrogen right here that was the alpha amine. So this is where our shift base is now. Now keep in mind that shift-based carbons are especially activated when the nitrogen of the shift base is protonate and when it has a positive charge. And that especially makes shift-based carbons activated. And so what's going to happen is the lysine is going to deprotonate water. And when it deprotonates water, it's going to facilitate the nucleophilic addition of the water across that shift-based carbon. So this is going to come here and attack the alpha carbon, and that forces these electrons onto the nitrogen. Okay, so what this step effectively was that it was an addition reaction or a hydration of the shift-based carbon. And we know that we have hydroxyl added here. You can effectively think of it in the same way as an addition reaction of an alkene that you saw probably in organic 1 or early in organic 2. It's effectively the same thing except for the fact that the nitrogen, again, is acting as an electron sink. It's not as powerful as an electron sink as the pyridoxal phosphate pyridine ring, but it's still an electron sink. When that hydroxyl group attacks, the electrons can be accepted by the nitrogen. That's the beauty of shift bases, is the carbon's activated, but as soon as something attaches, the electrons that are part of the double bond, those pi electrons can be accepted by the nitrogen, and that's what's useful about them. Okay? Then what's going to happen is this amine right here is going to deprotonate the hydroxyl group, forcing the formation of a carbonyl, right? And this is going to be the alpha keto group, okay? And then that forces this leaving group. Okay, so that's the leaving group. And so now what you have is the amine version of pyridoxal phosphate. So this is the amine right here of pyridoxal phosphate, okay? And notice what we generate, okay? We generated alpha-ketoglutarate. So this molecule right here, this is alpha-ketoglutarate. And just bear in mind that if we were running this in the direction of alanine metabolism, we would have started with alanine, right? And this group would have been a methyl group because we would have spit off pyruvate, right? So you just basically say okay. But in this direction of starting glutamate, you get alpha-ketoglutarate out. So now what's going to happen is this amine that's on the pyridoxal phosphate, okay, is going to do a nucleophilic attack on the carbonyl carbon of the ketone group of pyruvate. And that's going to force these pi electrons to come out and extract the proton from this amine and and it's going to generate a lone pair on the nitrogen. Okay. And keep in mind, we still have a protonated lysine in the active site, and that came from the simple deprotonated water. So the proton that we're going to extract next, that's from the water molecule. That ultimately did the nucleophilic addition on this part right here. Okay. So now what's going to happen is we're going to have an elimination. So a shift base. This is a shift base, and the process of hydroxylase that it does, it extracts the proton from the lysine, regenerating the deprotonated form of lysine, and now we have a shift base linkage, and that will ultimately be what forms alanine. Okay, so the next step of the mechanism is going to be the formation of another quinonoid intermediate. Okay, so in all of these transamination reactions, if you're expected to draw the mechanism, you should always expect to see two quinonoid intermediates. And keep in mind that this nitrogen right here, do this in green, this nitrogen is acting as an electron sink. The reason they can do that is because it's a good electron acceptor. Remember, when you have a shift base, which technically the purity ring is a shift base, okay, whenever the carbon gets attacked, okay, specifically we're attacking this carbon right here, okay, this is the carbon that gets attacked, I want to highlight it in yellow. When that carbon gets attacked, those pi electrons can be accepted by that nitrogen. That's what makes it an electron sink. So this lone pair on the amine of lysine is going to deprotonate this carbon right here, and that's going to force a double bond rearrangement, and of course we're going to get this nitrogen acting as an electron sink, and we end up forming the quinonoid intermediate. That's what we see right here. That's the quinonoid intermediate. And now keep in mind, at this point now we have our protonated lysine. As you can quickly see through this mechanism, pretty much the only chemically active residue is the lysine residue. Okay, now what's going to happen is those electrons that were accepted by the nitrogen of the pyridoxal phosphate are going to be spit back out. Okay, and we're going to reform aromaticity. Okay, and what's going to happen is these pi electrons are going to kick in here, and the these are going to ultimately extract the proton from the lysine. Okay, regenerating deprotonated lysine, and now what we have is a prime target for lysine nucleophilic attack. So what we're going to see now effectively is a reversal of the initial two steps. So what we saw in the initial two steps of the mechanism were the free amino acid attached to the shift base, and that eliminated the lysine residue, right? But in these steps, the lysine is going to do the nucleophilic attack, and we're going to eliminate the free amino acid. Okay, so mechanistically, it's going to be identical. It's just the identity of what we're eliminating that gets changed. Okay, so what's going to happen is this lysine is going to attack the shift base carbon, and that's going to force these pi electrons to deprotonate the lysine. Okay, and what that generates is this intermediate, whereby the pyridoxal phosphate is now both to what will be the free amino acid and the lysine residue. And what's going to happen now is we're going to get the elimination. So we're going to walk the leaving group. So these electrons on the amine of the lysine residue are going to kick in here, and that's going to force the elimination of the amino acid, which will initially leave as the alanine that has the amine in the deprotonated state. But we know that once it leaves the active site, right, it's going to do a proton exchange with solution, in which it's going to pick up a proton, right? So once it leaves the active site, then it's going to pick up the proton from solution. But initially from the mechanism, it's actually going to be in the deprotonated state. And what that does is it regenerates our pyridoxal phosphate to a shift-based linkage, ultimately to the lysine residue of transamination. Back to the amino acid metabolism playlist. The objectives of this video are number one going to be to understand a concept called energy charge. This is not ordinarily a topic that's taught in your biochemistry course. It's something that my professor at University of Texas Tyler named Dr. Sean Black came up with. And it's not something you'll find in textbooks, but I found it's really important for understanding the allosteric effects of the allosteric enzymes in amino acid metabolism. And those enzymes are going to be glutamate dehydrogenase and glutaminase. There also is an enzyme called glutamine synthetase, but we're going to come back to that enzyme in amino acid biosynthesis. We're also going to try to understand the allosteric regulation of these enzymes during fasting and fed stage, and as we'll find, energy charge plays a big role in that as well. Welcome back to the playlist on amino acid metabolism. This is a picture, a handy picture that was provided in my Biochemistry 2 class by Dr. Sean Black of the University of Texas Tyler, so I just wanted to give him credit for this picture. He's the one that created it. And what this picture does is it's going to give us a little bit of knowledge about what happens during different energy charges in the cell. Well, what is energy charge? Well, to understand what energy charge is, we need to understand which molecules might be associated with low energy charge and which ones might be associated with high energy charge. Okay? And so if we're talking about molecules that have high energy charge, what we're talking about are things like ATP, things like GTP, and in general, we're talking about our nucleoside triphosphate. And specifically, the tri is important because, as we'll find, adenosine diphosphate and adenosine monophosphate, those molecules do not fall into these because they are not nucleoside triphosphates. Other things that might be associated with high energy charge would be things like NADH. and sometimes you'll even consider acetyl-CoA. Okay, so these are molecules that are going to be associated with high energy charge. Okay, now what are things that would be associated with low energy charge? Well, those are going to be basically the opposites of those molecules, right? So those would be things like NAD+, right? Things like adenosine diphosphate, adenosine monophosphate, and in general, you have your nucleoside di or monophosphates, right? And then also sometimes coenzyme A. Okay, so that would be something that's associated with there's my notes, coenzyme A. Okay, so these things would be associated with low energy charge. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's think about it in terms of the fasting fed state. Okay, so let's say we're in the fed state. We just ate a meal, right? So let's say we just opened up a bag of sweet potato fries, put them in the oven, and ate them, right? Well, initially, right after the meal, we're going to have plenty of NADH, right? We're going to have plenty of ATP, CTP, acetyl-CoA. Well, how does that happen? Well, number one, especially if you're eating something like potatoes, right? That's filled with glucose, right? So we're going to be running glycolysis, right? And of course, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase gives us NADH. And then at the end, we're going to get pyruvate, and the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex will give us acetyl-CoA. And now we're going to the TCA cycle where we get 3 more NADHs, right? And we also get FADH2, and all 4 of those molecules fuel the respiratory chain, right? And not only do we get an ATP/ATP out of succinyl-CoA synthetase, but we're also fueling the respiratory chain. So we power ATP synthesis. So we're going to get lots of ATP during the fed state, and I hope that makes sense. So all 4, not only 4, in general, these molecules that I've written on the right here are high energy charge. Those things will be associated with the fed state. And so in the fed state, we are in a condition known as high energy charge. Okay, well, let's think about the fasting state. Well, in the fasting state, we're going to assume that we've been burning the ATPs, right? We're contracting our muscles. We call it myosin, the protein in muscle that's responsible for muscle contraction. For every contraction it does, for every power stroke, it burns an ATP. Plus, on top of that, we're using neurons, like we're firing neurons, and to replenish the neuron concentration of sodium potassium on the right side of the axon, we're using sodium potassium DPPase. So there's lots of processes by which we're burning ATP, and at the same time we're burning our NADH by NADH dehydrogenase, and so, we're wasting our acetyl-CoA inside the TCA cycle. So all of these low energy charge molecules tend to build up. Those are the ones I have written here. They're NAD, and then we also have our nucleoside diphosphates, nucleoside monophosphates, and so forth, and then we can sometimes also consider coenzyme A. So these molecules will be associated with the fasting state. Now, let's think about the fasting state, right? That's what we'll consider first, because those are the conditions under which we're going to run amino acid metabolism or amino acid degradation. So let's think about that. Let's think about our blood glucose levels. During the fasting state, we're assuming that we haven't had a good meal in a while, right? So our blood glucose levels are going to drop, right? So there's going to become less and less ability to run purely on glycolysis, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over our metabolism to a higher percentage of beta oxidation and amino acid metabolism, just because there's lower blood glucose, so there's less ability to run on the glucose, right, because we haven't had a meal. Now, this particular video and this particular picture is focusing on 2 amino acids. Those are glutamine and glutamate, okay? And what I want to hold in separate videos, we're going to go over the mechanisms of glutamine synthetase, glutamate, and glutamate dehydrogenase. And